In today's episode of The Exactly Show, I get to introduce you to my very good friend, Mr. John DeMato. John DeMato is a visual storyteller, but more than that, he's just an incredibly insightful human. Somebody that can take the great work that he does to capture magic in photographs, and in our discussion today, you're going to learn some big life lessons from that, some big leadership lessons from that, and you're perhaps going to learn how you can deliver more magic in your own world. Let's meet John. So John, what on earth is a visual storyteller?
A visual storyteller is creating an opportunity for people to share what they do, who they are, how they solve problems through the photos and the other visual assets that they create. And they're meant to complement the words that accompany those visuals.
So see, when I hear visual storytelling, and I remember when I first even bumped into this in your brand, I'm like, isn't a visual storyteller a movie maker or a documentary maker, etc.? Like, how does this relate to photography? I'm still a touch confused.
Well, whereas in film, you're talking about 24 frames a second, we're just dealing in photos with one frame at a time. But at the end of the day, the moments are captured, the aesthetic is created, the emotion is conveyed. It's all the same stuff. It's just a different modality. So it's different notes, but the same kind of music.
Okay. And how do you make a decision to say that you're going to go all in on photography to shape your craft, as opposed to going the more traditional route of saying, I'm going to try and help people showcase their personality, showcase their emotion through a vehicle like video?
Because my knees told me I needed to retire from video. That's why, Phil.
So health issues is what drives it.
Actually, the truth is, one of the things that really kind of pushed me towards photography was the fact that I really enjoyed the process of finding those moments one frame at a time. It is more challenging. Video has its own, things to it that creates more challenges. For example, the audio, sound. But when you're talking about trying to capture a moment one frame at a time, it is extremely challenging. And for me, I really like that.
Okay.
And I kind of gravitated towards that. And yes, the knee thing and the body thing is part of it, but really it's overall the craft of it is what I like.
So you're a visual storyteller, but uniquely a content creator in the same way that you're regularly helping other people create content. And I believe that we currently live in a world where people are creating content like it's disposable, whether that's for TikTok, whether that's for Instagram Reels. It exists and then it implodes and it caught a small grab of attention. How do photos differ for that?
Well, I think one of the main reasons is that when you look at a video from 30 years ago and you see the quality of it that was created within that time, it immediately creates a sense of feeling dated, right?
Okay.
When you look at an image, you can look at images taken from decades ago, and while all of that stuff still exists because the medium, the technology that created that image is dated, but yet the emotion conveyed in that one shot still resonates with people. And while I guess you could say in one sense they are disposable as well, they still carry a lot of value. And for some people, they're more appreciated when they look at images rather than just watching videos.
Okay. Speakers, coaches, consultants, trainers, is there forever pouring into finding ways to be able to gain more clients, finding ways to be able to stand out within a highly competitive field. Why do you think, though, that so few people in that space actually put time, effort, and energy into their photographs? I mean, I still see stock photographs like crazy everywhere. I see people using the image that they had of themselves that was brilliant and beautiful in 2016, but they're still repping it today. Yeah. I see challenges everywhere where people aren't giving anywhere near the right amount of attention to how they show up in a snapshot as they are in creating reels and dancing at TikTok videos, etc. Why don't people care?
Probably because everyone that's selling video equipment and all the video creators are louder than the photographers. But aside from that,
okay,
more to the point, I would say is that they don't know what they don't know.
Okay.
And some people just in their mind think, oh, I really need video. But what do they do about it? They still do nothing about it. And even those that do put all their effort into video, they feel that that's all you need. because that's what they've been told and that's what they see predominantly. But the truth is, people just honestly need more awareness around the fact that there are certain people out there that don't want to invest time watching videos. I would be one of them. Ironically, as a former video creator, I don't like watching videos because it's an investment of all the senses. Whereas an image, you read something, you consume the image, you get a sense of what it is, and you're moved into action based on whatever it is, answering a question or following up on whatever that post is about.
You and I have worked together for some time, and I know one of the big things that we think about when we're looking to be able to build, maintain, and evolve an image library is how does this grow visibility? How does this grow credibility? What is this doing to demonstrate authenticity? How does somebody at home looking at this right now think about building a library of images that create a tapestry that help them in a blink or a snapshot or a side eye start to be able to tell more of their story?
The first place to start is to understand that there are different types of images that are needed in different parts of their online presence. So if we're talking about a speaker, a coach, a trainer, someone in that vein, the first thing we need to look at are their promotional images. What are the images where they're directly looking into the camera? Okay. The stuff that they need for their kit, the stuff that they need for their social profile images, the stuff for the About Me on the website, all of those images that are very staged, very looking into the camera, while also displaying aspects of who they are, their personality, how they want to be perceived. Then the second piece of that are the promotional lifestyle images, the images that capture what their day-to-day looks like, how they solve their clients' problems, giving their audience a fly-on-the-wall experience to understand what it actually looks like to work with this person, so that it demystifies that process of, if I'm going to hire this person, what do I expect? Well, that helps relieve some of that friction of, I don't know if this is the right move, because now you feel like you get a sense of who this person is and you kind of know them a little bit more.
So if you were trying to tell a story for a speaker, like, what's the plot? What's the story? What are you trying to get across?
Well, first it's, how do you want to be perceived by your audience? What aspects of your personality that you want to convey? We always need to start with the you piece. Okay. Then we need to start with the them piece. How do you help these people get past what's holding them back? Does it involve a whiteboard? Is it a laptop screen? Is it something like this? Is it in a room of people? Is it on a stage? If yes, we need to photograph that stuff. Show people what it looks like. Right. And then there's the added piece, the personal side. What are you willing to show your people to be more relatable in terms of living your life? How do you want to be out there and be recognized and stay relevant and connect with people on another level? It's a multifaceted pieces put together to put this portfolio together.
Okay. And what's in a portfolio? Like, how many pieces? What should somebody be thinking about? I mean, this is the Exactly show. So exactly what should people have as the photos and images that are going to allow them to be able to tell their story at a level that would convey?
So we touched a little bit on it. We need those headshots. We need those wider portraits. We need you wearing those outfits that you wear when you're in front of your audience that pays you money. We need to see what your brainstorming process looks like, what your onboarding process looks like, what are your online pieces, how do you work with people through a screen, what does it look like when you're in a room at an event and you're working with the AV team before, during, and after. What does that whole process look like when you're running your own event before, during, and after? So the answer is everything.
Everything. I've heard you share this before in front of a group when working with some of our certified guides community, is like, they need to see how the sausage is made, right? Yes. That's what you're looking to be able to get across, is how's the sausage made? What are all the ingredients that go into it? Because sure, you can show up and look brilliant. Sure, you could have a beautiful, either AI-induced or Photoshop-induced version of a sexy headshot. But what's really going on behind the scenes, and how can you then stand out? But okay, you've got all these assets. What are you doing with them?
So then you're sitting down and with your team or by yourself, however you do this, and then you need to start looking more critically at all of the touch points across your online presence. Do I recognize this person in the photo? Is this a relevant image of how I help and serve my people today? And if the answer is no, you need to start swapping these images out. But if you don't continually refresh, that's when you run the risk of becoming stale and bland and just noise, and people don't care anymore.
Got it. And that's the last thing you want, right? Is to people stop caring, because They stop seeing you relevant. They stop seeing you making changes, stop seeing you evolving, stop seeing you as somebody that is actually truly connected to both your mission and the problem that you solve.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's jam on this for a second with a little back and forth. What are some of the expensive mistakes that you've seen happen on repeat or that you bump into all the time when working with thought leaders that want to be able to convey a story of blank, but actually are conveying a story of something different? What mistakes? You give me one, I'll share one. You give me one. Let's see how many we can maybe knock out together.
Well, the biggest one that I see is that experts often focus on the vanity of the images, and there's no soul, no essence. They're shot in a space that has absolutely nothing to do or complement who they are. And basically there is this asymmetricality between their personality and what they do versus where they're photographed.
Got it. I think what I see a lot is just dated. It's just, it hasn't changed in such a long time, and that people are sharing photo assets of blank, but then they're showing up on video doing things like Instagram lives, and they're doing things like sharing on Zoom. And what I see on their website, what I see on their profile images, and then what I see of them that they delivered yesterday, they look like two different people.
Yeah, it's their high school photo or some holiday party with a drink that they framed out and it looks terrible. Yes, I've seen that too.
What else are you seeing that is expensive mistakes that people make from not taking their visual storytelling seriously?
Another one is the fact that a lot of folks miss, they get the moment, but they don't get the moments before and after the moment.
Okay.
So like take an event, for example. You'll see them on stage looking all glossy in the 5 photos that their photographer delivered to them, but you don't see anything that happened beforehand. You don't see any, aside from the tech team, just having conversations with the participants in the room, the stuff afterwards, signing books, having conversations, getting hugs from people, taking pictures. You don't see any of that. You don't allow the full scope of what happened in that moment to actually resonate with people and make them feel like, I want to be there the next time that he or she does that.
Right. And what you're saying is they may have copy that is written like, we're engaging, we're happy to stay around and work with attendees, is what we are, is we're really easy to do business with, we are humorous, we're exciting, we provide practical takeaways.
And then they use a photo of them against a blank wall looking all fancy, throwing confetti up in the air. Yeah, exactly.
They missed the point. Yeah. And I think there are so many points that can be made visually that are really hard to make with words, would be really braggy if you were to try and make them with video. Like if you say that you deliver actionable insights, can't you have a photograph of somebody writing down high power notes and actually physically taking action? If you want to say that you're funny and you're engaging and entertaining, the photo should surely be of somebody's face looking like they're having a good time.
Yeah.
Across your shoulder, or actually with you being in it. It's like, can you show the tapestry and texture of what's happening within your audience? But like, what else am I seeing as mistakes? I just think the missed opportunities to use images that would tell your story and instead replacing them with stock imagery. I would say that if you are a professional in the thought leader space, there is no rhyme or reason that you should ever use a stock photograph in your life for anything.
No, because as you know, while also being in the business of whatever their expertise is, they are also in the business of building relationships. You can't build a relationship with a Getty image from 10 years ago that 35 other people just like you are using. Mm-hmm. There's no differentiation. Why should they care? And in fact, why are you hiding? Mm-hmm. If you are the person that's out in front that says, I have the solution to your problem, that subconsciously is telling me, well, where the hell are you? Why are you not showing up everywhere with everything that you put out there that says that you are the solution to their problem?
I love how much you care about this, and I hope you share a story with us all today about something very real that happened in your life. I mean, you're an event photographer that works with thought leaders to help them visually tell their story at a higher level. Rewind back to 2020. Look what happened to the event industry when we were challenged by COVID. Look what happened to anybody in our space with disposable income. Now they had less of it to be able to invest in what was seen as luxury services like yourself. How did you think about how you could help thought leaders tell their story when the whole world changed against them?
After I spent a lot of time staring at a wall and wondering what the hell am I going to do, I was watching a local National Speakers Association chapter meeting on my screen, and I was sitting in my office, and I had the idea of, well, I don't want to just sit here and not photograph this because I photographed every single chapter meeting for the past 2 years prior to that moment. So I grabbed my camera and I said, what the hell, let me shoot the screen. Photographed all of the speakers, the panel discussions afterwards, wrote a story about it, shared a couple of the images, tagged the people in it, and the next thing I knew, a virtual speaking Zoom business was created, and I had no idea that that was going to happen, nor was that the point. The point was to stay useful during a very difficult time for everyone and for me to stay busy, and it turned into something that became very valuable for the community.
And I think there's so much magic in that, right? When you find yourself in a challenging time, is often people are asking themselves, what can I do? What can I do? What should I do? What should I do? Whereas what you did is you asked the question, how can I help? And then just moved on that. And I think, yes, that's relatable towards the pandemic situation, but isn't it just as relatable to any situation when you're puzzled? You're often inwardly looking, saying, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? What should I do? What should I do? What should I do? More often, we should ask ourselves, how can we help? Because often your value is better appreciated when all you are is in service of others.
That's why it's on the shirt, man. It's about them, not you.
It's about them, not you. So much so you put it on a shirt. I want to see it on a tattoo next. That's what I want to see if you're fully committed to this.
We'll find someone else for that. But
and when you take your shirt off in a moment of deep intimacy, it just says it's about them, not you.
So that might be a good look for me. I don't know.
Interesting. Thanks for listening so far. Thanks for watching so far. If this has been something that's been enjoyable to you, note that this is a brand new venture inside our organization. I don't know whether this is something that you want more of. So if you like these discussions, learning exactly what goes on in other people's businesses and exactly how that can relate to your life, then please like, please subscribe, please leave a comment below. That way we'll know what you're looking for more of, and I can keep securing interesting, remarkable guests for you to get to know here on The Exactly Show. Okay, what else I want to quiz you on as well that's just come from your body of work is we live in the author space, and lots of people as authors in the promo of their book, they have a beautiful 3D mock-up image that's provided. They maybe get some galley copies that come from the publisher, and then they get to the launch of their book and they have promo shots in front of step repeat banners and people holding their book, etc., from maybe use case examples. You took this one stage further from a book's point of view and did something I've never seen somebody else do. How did that come about? What was it that came about? And why does it matter to put books through some sexy time?
Little book boudoir action. Yeah. Well, the idea came from me from talking to another client. We were just jamming out on an idea on a Zoom call, and he saw some photos I took of another client's covers of her books during her branding session. He asked me, do you shoot the books by themselves? And I'm like, why would I do that? And then we started talking. I'm like, oh, that could be cool. Because what we ended up talking about was, well, instead of just shooting the cover and the spine, what if I actually figured out a way to crack the book open and shoot the stuff that people actually buy the book for, which is what's inside of it? And from that conversation, it developed into, well, if I'm going to create a system around this, what exactly am I looking for? Well, instead of just shooting the cover and the spine in different ways, obviously providing enough of space for people to add in their branding and their text and all that stuff for the launch, that's great. Crack the book open and shoot the pull quotes, the illustrations, the chapter titles, the section headers, all of these different elements within the book so that it gives them and the team for the launch and post-launch to be able to leverage these visual assets in a way that gives people a chance to preview the book in their hands through their eyes, rather than just looking at some two-dimensional mock-up of a cover that has no life whatsoever. Now listen, if that's all you got, that's all you got. But if you want to create an opportunity for people to get a little more excited about it, show them the meat and potatoes of it, what's in there, it's going to potentially drive more people to want to pick it up and buy it.
What I love about what you're doing with all of this is you're raising the bar. You're shifting people's perspective as to what they think about a photo can be. And my invitation to you listening in on this right now is, regardless of what you do in your line of work, regardless of what you're looking to be able to get better at, is you're all visual storytellers. You just have to ask yourself, what visual story are you telling? And then you probably need to ask yourself is, what is your existing set of assets telling that is not necessarily the story you'd like to tell? So please, please, pretty please, at this point in our discussion, be thinking about how you're showing up. Be thinking about how you can craft this differently. Because as we record this in 2024, this is your resume nowadays. This is what people are thinking about and seeing of you. And I remember back in my time when I was thinking about resume, I'm looking for all the extracurricular touches that can help showcase me as not just being qualified in experience, but could stand out in a crowd of other people who are qualified and experienced by other like accreditations, other hobbies and interests, etc., that would add texture and tapestry to why an employer would choose me in early days. Is this the same for people who are trying to be chosen themselves? Is getting those assets right to tell their story, is it as important as a resume was maybe 20, 25 years ago?
I think it's even more important because it's not just a couple of words on a page that's really nicely laid out. It's your likeness, it's your essence, it's how you get down and dirty and do the thing you do better than anyone else that motivates people to pay you money to do it. And if you take it seriously and you want to grow and evolve, the way that you tell that story visually has to grow and evolve with how you go about your day. Otherwise, it gets, like we said before, it gets stale. And then people start to just trail off and you become irrelevant.
I'm intrigued about some other parts of your experience, and particularly intrigued about the challenges people have the other side of the camera. The individuals that are being photographed is, I don't like being photographed. You know how much I don't like being photographed. But I also imagine that you've dealt with lots of different forms of anxiety or self-awareness or lack of self-value of anybody that is being invited to take photographs. Like what's that all about? What do you do to help people overcome those challenges? How do you help them work through it?
Well, first of all, I can relate. As someone who was heavily overweight for more than half of my life, I ran away from cameras and to an embarrassing extent, like running away from family members with cameras. So number one, I completely understand that. And it's ironic now that I am a portrait photographer that gets people past it. But the way that I do it is I generally have to flip between three hats. I'm either the cheerleader when I feel that they're not, into it. They're getting a little, all right, this is becoming long, so you just got to pump them up. You got to be the therapist when they're getting insecure and feeling really like, oh my God, I hate everything about myself visually. And then sometimes you just got to be the swift kick in the ass. Like, let's go. We have a lot to do. You know what's in store, and we got to work together to get exactly what you need. And a lot of the way that I approach people with those three different hats is informed during the strategy call that I have with people, where I ask an extensive amount of questions before we even show up to the place. So I know exactly what we're photographing, exactly what they're going to wear, exactly the different types of props and other objects that they need to bring. Why does that help? For people who are insecure and feeling a little bit, if you prepare them, half of that fear goes away. The other half then comes through the conversation and the rapport that I have with them that I've established during that inquiry call and then the strategy call. And then that way, it's all about getting them present in the moment by me constantly talking, constantly directing, because then they don't have time to think about, oh, I hate how I look. Oh, I feel fat right now. Oh, this is not going to work, because they're too busy listening to me. So I'm trying to overwhelm their senses so they stay present.
Got it. So what you're saying is the work before the work is something that will allow people to be properly prepared. Then you can just run the play that you planned. And whilst running the play, you can course correct as you go by being a cheerleader, by being a therapist. And what was the other one that you said?
Giving them a swift kick in the ass.
That's what I thought you said. I was just trying to check that my handwriting said that same thing. And I am going to just ask you to expand on that, because I think you gave some of the ways you do it. I do need to know how. Like, how do you be a cheerleader? I think we would all like to be a cheerleader for other people in their lives at times when they're trying to work through something that they're nervous, anxious, or fearful about. What does being a cheerleader really look like in this context?
A lot of it is predicated on me getting a vibe for the personality and coming at it from a way that will resonate with them most. And it kind of changes per person, but in most cases, and the way that it mostly comes out during a session is I will review photos on the back of the camera with the client throughout the entire session. When it's a branding session, obviously live events are different, but in a branding session. And, oh, you could use it this way and you can use it. And then they get excited about it because they actually get the buy-in right then and there.
So what they're getting is they're getting reassurance from you that we're getting what we need. This is going to be great. You look amazing. This is, valuable. It's useful. It's practical. They're just getting positive reinforcement is that you're getting what you need from them.
Checking the vanity box and checking the value that this will create for them box at the same time. Yes.
Okay. And what about the therapist? How does that play differently?
It depends, once again, on the person and whatever their perceived imperfections are. So if we're talking about a weight thing, one of the ways that I do that, again, is by looking at the back of the camera and literally pointing out what their problem spot in their head is and talk about how, first of all, no one cares about this, but just to show them how we're either minimizing it or eliminating it completely so they don't even think about it.
Okay.
And then if they're, and also sometimes what it in terms of the therapy piece is I put the camera down and we're talking for 5 minutes and it has absolutely nothing to do with the shoot. I've had to do that a couple times. They might have something that's going on outside of that room.
Yeah.
And I just need to be a human being for a second. And sometimes it's that. So it's a combination per person.
And if I'm to try and summarize that, what you're saying is you're aware of what they're aware of. So you're not trying to hide from that. You're being aware of it to a point that you are making intentional decisions and actions to help them get a better outcome than the thing they're fearful that might be less than.
Yes.
So this can relate outside of photography too. This is something we can all take. And if somebody's struggling with something or somebody has a challenge in their life that they are, feeling is drawing them away from what they'd like to be able to do, is you can be a crutch for them in that area. And I love that other point of just put the camera down. We can take that as a metaphor in any other area of our life, right? It's how do you just put the brakes on for a second? How do you just create a space to exhale? How do you just give people the room to be able to process the thinking and feeling so that what they can do is get back on task? And what about this swift, quick kick in an ass, right? I know where you're from. I know how you grew up. You're New York through and through. What does a swift kick in the ass from John DeMato look like?
Well, generally speaking, what that is a lot of irreverent humor and motivation said in a way that is unique to me, but will also resonate with the client because of the aforementioned rapport building during the inquiry call and the strategy call. And it's just a reminder, like, listen, we have 10 things left and you've been taking a long time in that bathroom getting changed. We need to move forward, like work with a sense of urgency. We need to consistently stay on task. Yes, we'll have time for this, but we need to move faster. And then just doing it all with a lot of humor, with a lot of sarcasm, and just making this thing not feel like they're going to the dentist to get a root canal, basically.
So what you've just done is you just gave us a leadership lesson whilst talking about how to take better photographs. And that's what I've received from that is we can all look at that and say, how do we be better leaders in our life, better leaders in our business, better leaders in our relationships, through the way that sometimes we have to be the cheerleader, sometimes we have to be the therapist, and sometimes we have to give people a kick up the backside.
Yes.
Even relates to how we show up as parents. I can see this translatable everywhere. It's awesome. I'm going to stay in this metaphor of photography because I think we're getting life lessons from the photographer here right now. And what about feedback? You're going to run a shoot with somebody. They're going to invest a significant amount of time and money and energy in being ready for that. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to, quote unquote, what's written on your shirt here, deliver magic. And what's going to pop up is a Google Drive or a Dropbox folder or a window display of all these images that you believe are the right images to be able to deliver on the right results. Have you ever had somebody not like them?
I've had people that have not fully been 100% through the roof, like celebrating. Yes,
Okay.
I have.
And how do you deal with that?
I guess what it boils down to is, in terms of what I know I can do as an expert, first of all, there is my way and that's it. I don't believe in that. And we all have days where we're just good enough and not spectacular. But in terms of delivering the types of images that these people need, I know within where I am that what I'm delivering will always satisfy those very specific needs. And not everybody is going to be 100% over the moon. But I've never had someone that said to me, I can't use any of the photos, thankfully. But in terms of feedback, I take it from people, especially from people who are paying me. I'm listening. I'm always listening and always trying to figure out, how can I do better? How can I make this process better? How can I make the deliverables better? How can I make the strategy better? There is no mountaintop. So I welcome it. I don't prefer not to have it, but it's always a constant reminder that we always need to be getting better.
Got it. And does anything stand out in your mind of some feedback you received from a client that then made you change the way you approach things, or change the way that you have your process, or, it's fundamentally means that you now do things differently when you're working with clients?
Well, one in particular, I hate photographing portrait mode or vertical photos. I hate them for a myriad reasons. I primarily shoot horizontally for experts. And one speaker in particular made a very, very good point that for her speaker kit, she needed vertical portraits to be able to use so that, for different promotional opportunities, they have a vertical. And that made me think I need to incorporate at least one round of that. Since that moment 4 years ago, I haven't stopped. Every branding shoot now has a vertical. And then like I said before, with the books, that was not my idea. I'm always receptive and open to thinking about how can we yes and what we're already doing that's working and make it better.
And that's staying true to the outcome of visual storytelling, right? Is that there is a story to tell and there is a field of play in which you are telling that story. And as the field of play and landscape changes, you have to change how you perform on the pitch. And I think as all the social platforms are forever changing, as what trends and style is on things like YouTube thumbnails even, or slide decks, or how websites are being built, or whether people are viewing on their phone this way or this way, is like, it's always changing what's necessary because the field of play never stays the same.
Yeah. And the field of play for everybody is different because everybody's playing a slightly different game.
Absolutely. I got a few fun questions to ask you as we bring our conversations towards the close. And, one is there any particular fun or surprising uses of your images? We're talking about taking photographs to tell visual stories. Anything that you're like, oh, when I shot that, I didn't imagine I'd see it there?
Dating profile pictures on dating apps. I love it. That one is very fun. Yeah.
How often is that something that you've seen show up?
I've actually seen it at least half a dozen times. And the funny part is these are people that are trying to match up with me. So I'm like, you're using my photo to try to attract people like me. And I find that very funny.
I won't go too much deeper on that.
Good.
John, you've worked with a lot of people. You've worked with a lot of thought leaders. You work with a lot of speakers. There must be something that comes from that experience that is more than just you deliver great photographs. What are some of the interesting lessons or some of the surprising things that have come to you from just being in the rooms you've had a chance to be in as a result of this work?
I mean, I chose actively to work with experts who speak, train, coach, consult, and write books for a reason. And that is, no matter what room I'm in, no matter what the expertise is, I'm walking out of here gleaning something that's going to make me better than I was yesterday. And that is a fundamental truth that I am forever grateful for, because I didn't have to be paid to be in that room. And yet I have the opportunity to hear all of these magnificent experts, such as yourself, along with all of the litany of other folks. And I'm just very grateful for that opportunity.
Let's take a brag on that for a second. You can't use anything that's come from our work together. What are three big lessons from three thought leaders that you've had a chance to work with that are unforgettable to you? Things that are like you couldn't unlearn them even if you tried.
You do the best you can with what you got some of the time, from my friend Jessica Pettit. You have 7 seconds to make it count, from Sylvie DeGiusto. And what is it? What is the next right step? Mike Goldman said that once on a call, and that really solidified that.
What is the next right step?
The next right step, yeah.
Mike Goldman. You have 7 seconds
to make it count.
From Sylvie DeGiusto. And then Jessica's was?
You do the best you can with what you got some of the time.
That's quite freeing and liberating, right? When everyone else is like, do your best all the time, even when you're asleep, even when you're having a bad day, even when, is do the best you can some of the time. Love that. That's so good. And I think that just reminds us of the people that you hang around with, the rooms that you get to be able to put yourself in. That's where your wisdom comes from. That's where you learn through osmosis. That's where you get to create a better visual story of yourself to yourself inside your own mind. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's where that comes from too. So John, close us out. You have written on your shirt today, deliver magic. You say to your clients, you're going to help them deliver magic. What does that actually mean to you? And how does that relate to our friends that are listening into us at this point in the conversation?
So the easiest way to break it down is to the sum of its parts. Deliver magic means that you're obsessing strategically before, during, and after the session to understand who the person is, how they solve problems, how they want to be perceived, and how and where they do those things. And you have a plan in place. And then on that plan, you then need to deliver incomparable work. And by incomparable, I mean creating as much variety within that space as humanly possible within the time given. And then after those photos are done, you then create an opportunity to over-deliver with speed and value. Speed meaning you're not going to sit on these photos and let them, mature over 6 to 7 months. You actually get these out the door as fast as possible, and that you also become a collaborator in their success by suggesting to them where some of these photos would be best suited to be used across their online presence. So you're not just a pretty picture taker. You're someone that's side by side with them, helping them grow.
I wonder if there's something in that for all of us. I wonder if you can deliver more magic. All you got to do is obsess about the outcomes you're looking to achieve for others, build a plan to make it work, and then simply deliver incomparable work. What a great word, incomparable work. And then over-deliver with speed and value. So it's got to give more and come quickly. And then be a collaborator in their success, helping them achieve more with the work than they anticipated they could achieve with the work. I think there's lessons there for all of us. I know that's how you do your work. That's how you create the photographic evidence and assets for the speakers, trainers, and coaches and consultants that you work with. But I think we can all look to deliver a touch more or sprinkle more magic in our lives. So thank you, John. Thank you for being here today. How do people find out more about you? How do people learn how to work with you, should they choose to? How do people get to follow your story?
The easiest place to go is my website, johndemato.com. Check me out there. You can follow me on the socials, DeMato Photo. I'm there. I'm all over the place.
John, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for being here on The Exactly Show.
Thank you for having me, my friend.